Okay, are we live already? We are live and... Right, Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome back with TCC Chat 2020, Where Are the Jobs? Where we will be speaking to our professionals in our community from various fields and industries. Today we are honored to have Ustad Hannan Hassan with us. Assalamualaikum Ustad.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah. How are you doing,
Ustad? Good, Alhamdulillah. Selamat Hari Raya.
Selamat Hari Raya to you and family.
Great. Definitely everyone knows who Ustad Hannan Hassan is. He is currently the Deputy Mufti of Majlis Ugama Islam Singapura, Muis. He actually studied Bachelor of Education, first class with distinction from Kuwait, majoring in Arabic Language and Islamic Education. He's specializing in the Muslim-Jewish relation, interfaith relations and history and the philosophy of Islamic law in the Malay Archipelago. He has held various capacity in Muis and also other NGOs such as the Singapore Islamic Scholars and Religious Teachers Association, Pergas, and he is currently still supervising the development of Islamic curriculum for Islamic and Madrasah Education. So Ustad Hannan, I think first of all, can you tell us more about what exactly you are currently busy with, because your portfolio is quite vast. So currently as the Deputy Mufti, what is your specific focus, especially at this point of time?
Well, that's a very difficult question, one. I cannot really pinpoint any specific, but generally my current preoccupation is really about religious public policies. So in my capacity as a Deputy Mufti and together with my team, we make decisions that will have effect on our religious life, on our public religious life. And this is not always easy. So that's one part of it in my capacity as Deputy Mufti. I also oversee the development of our Asatidzah in terms of their career, their professional development, as well as in terms of their content development. And just to mention one, I'm also heading the new program we introduced to all our returning Asatidzah. We call it the Postgraduate Certificate in Islam in Contemporary Societies, in short PCICS, which we started a few weeks ago. In fact, last night was the last class for them for this term. So yeah. I'm also heading that program, the PCICS. And yes, still overlooking the development of the curriculum for Islamic education, yeah.
Yep. And I think I want to know, how does this COVID-19 pandemic and the circuit breakers that we are experiencing right now change the way you do work? I can only imagine the intensity that you have to deal with, especially from the Muis side. So how does it change the way you do work at this point of time?
Well, subhanallah, how can I say this in a few minutes, or a couple of minutes? But if I can, this is really not just a pandemic. I've written elsewhere. In history, in human histories, we don't have, there are what we call big bangs. So these big bangs cause really major shift in human life, or what we call, as Thomas Kuhn would call it, a paradigm shift. It takes a really big bang to cause this really shift in our paradigm, in the way we do things.
Yep.
This does not happen regularly, obviously. This happened over centuries. I want to consider that this pandemic is one of the big bangs in human history. It will have great impact, not just now, but in the future. Now, how does this affect my work? If I can put it in two aspects, the what and the how. The what would mean my team and I need to make difficult decisions. And these decisions will have impact on you, myself, my family, public life, public religious life. And these are very personal, sensitive issues.
Yep.
This will have effect not only today, but many generations to come. To give example, not to have a Friday prayer. How long we have not been having our Friday prayer?
Almost 3 months.
Yeah, almost. I mean, it's almost 10 weeks or slightly
more than 40 days dah boleh jadi habit, Ustaz.
Yeah, you remember my word, huh? Okay, yeah. So, and that wasn't an easy decision, and to suspend activities in the mosque, and the recent one is really to suspend the Hajj. So we have made decision, and Alhamdulillah, Singapore is one of the earliest, the earlier country to make that decision in this region. Following our decision, the others also are now making that decision, not to send our pilgrims, our Hajjaj to Hajj this year. This is not an easy decision. Yeah. So that is the what. I mean, we have to make important decisions, but these are necessary decisions. And this is not about personal practice. This is public practice. Yeah. So that's one of the what that we need to do, and we need to do that really fast and furious. The things are evolving very fast, so we need to make that decision really fast. Yeah. Now that brings me to the how. How then do we make these decisions? We are not able to meet in person, so we are meeting like this. You and I now.
Yep.
It's over Zoom. It's over WebEx, and now I learned many of these terms, right? Many of these platforms. The how is also is very amazing. And this how, the way we do things now, I think will last for many more years, if not decades. So therefore, we will have to really adapt to this how. We'll have to learn how to live with this digital world. I've learned how to video record myself. I did a lot of recording. It's not just me, but my family, my children, my wife, and I've got to learn this within few minutes. Okay, how to fix this, how to use the different tools. And so that's how this thing has affected us, has affected personally, the what, as well as the how. And I think this will continue. This will continue for many more decades. Yeah.
Yep. Talking about the difficult decision that we have to take, Ustaz, I think billions of our viewers, inshallah, billions of our youth out there who are watching this, they are in a situation where they have never experienced before. We always talk about in TCC about career empowerment, about you being future ready. That's why you need to plan your career. But this is the big bang that we have no idea will come. So what do you say to the youth out there who currently is in the situation that they are graduating, they're looking for their first job, or young professional like me who are maybe looking to move into another job? What do you say to them at this difficult time?
Yeah, that's a very important question. Yes, I've written elsewhere about the need to look into the future horizon instead of we have the immediate crisis we need to deal with, manage. But more importantly, is not to lose sight of the future horizon. And what are these qualities necessary for us to remain resilient in the future? If I can put it in some few words, it's not necessary skills. Now, skills evolve, skills develop. Now, today, like I mentioned, I mean, I need to pick up the skills how to video record, use Zoom, and so on and so forth within not a day or so, right? Even within an hour. So these skills will continue to evolve and change. New jobs will be recreated. The not so old jobs are now already old. The jobs will not return, probably will lose for good. Or even the kind of jobs that we do in the past, we'll have to do it differently. So these skills will continue to be developed. We will continue to see and need to learn new skills. But what remains, and this has to be with us throughout this journey, and then we will continue to get new skills, is really that attitude, that quality, if we can call it grit, G-R-I-T, grit and resilience. For us to be able to face all these challenges, crises, and not losing, not to bow to this crisis. On the contrary, we see all these crises and difficulties as opportunities. That spirit, that quality is very essential for us to carry. So therefore, young graduates like yourself and your colleagues, your peers, you will not be surprised that those skills or even knowledge that you studied during your university days, and this is not long time ago, they may not they may be seen as irrelevant, right? I personally do not think that they are irrelevant. Yes, probably the content, the specific knowledge, the specific information may not be relevant anymore because of the changing context, but they have actually developed certain mindset, certain way of thinking, certain attitude. Right? When you do maths, for example, right? Maths requires that analytical thinking, you know, that focus, that systematic thinking. That's what maths teaches you. Fiqh, for example, in my area, in Islamic Studies, fiqh is not about the hukum ahkam, halal, haram, can or cannot. No, that's not fiqh. I'm not saying that it's not fiqh, but the essence of fiqh is really the intelligence. The word fiqh means understanding, the ability to apply bigger concepts on the changing parts. You know what I mean? So when my team and I, when we as well need to make these difficult decisions, and these are unprecedented. We cannot find this in our traditions, for example. But we remain true to our traditions. We understand the parts, understand the whole, the big ideas, the principles, and now we need to apply it on the changing context. We need to apply it on new problems. So when we are clear of those principles, those big ideas, application on the parts should be, inshallah, it's possible. So keep that spirit, keep that quality. I mentioned just one quality, grit and resilience. This is very important so that we will emerge stronger under any circumstances. And be clear of the big picture. Be clear of the why you do things, why you do what you do, the principles. When you are clear of the principles, you are clear of the kulliyat, the universal ideas, universal values, you can apply it on the different parts, the small things.
Yeah. And talking about principles, Ustad, and also about the big picture. I mean, you say in your quote as well that we live in a world where you change or you are changed, and now the changing situation is that for fresh grads, more so for fresh grads, but this is also applicable for other professionals out there in the workplace. About 100,000 jobs will be affected during this period. This will be the worst so-called unemployment or retrenchment as compared to the past three recessions, economic recession that we experienced in Singapore. So usually TCC, we talk about chasing your passion, do what you like. But the reality, many things that we like or we want to do nowadays disappear. So are we on the right track to advise? Because I've been changing the narrative as well. We have been changing the narrative by advising people to just go and take whatever there is, because I think what the priorities today is more on making sure that financially you're okay. And more importantly, I think we are in a community where having no job is like losing your dignity or so-called. I mean, we put so much emphasis on work. So at least when we have something to do, we are not so depressed. We have something to occupy our time. Are we on the right track, principal's wife, when it comes to the greater good?
Yeah, you mentioned the greater good.
Yeah.
Right? Your last word is important, greater good. And this is where we need to understand what is that greater good. Sometimes we sort of confuse between the why and the how. Okay? Between the why, meaning the objective, and the how. I want to assure everyone that we are not alone in this. Yeah, it's not just we Singaporeans. The whole world is facing this challenge. Like I mentioned, it's a big bang does not affect only one country, but globally. So we are not alone facing this challenge. So, well, at least that would comfort us minimally that okay, everyone is facing this. So therefore, there are many people are trying to find solutions to this. Yeah, necessity is the mother of creativity. So because of this, I'm pretty sure that there will be creative solutions for different parts of the world. So be rest assured, no? We are all in this together. Now, secondly, about passion, I think continue to chase your passion. Yeah? Continue to know your passion and chase after your passion. However, passion is not necessarily the what that you do. For example, my passion is to be an engineer in MediaCorp, for example. Well, probably not that may not be the passion. That is really the how. If you go deeper, probably your passion is the why you do what you do. No, in fact, we call it the maqasid syariah, right? The bigger principle, the why you do what you do. For example, you are someone who are passionate about children welfare, for example, right?
Yep.
You want to protect the welfare of the children, you want to assist them, and you're passionate about that. You can keep that passion. You ought to. You got to do something that you're passionate for. But how you do that can be in different forms. It can be as a nurse, in KK, for example. It can be through social work. It can be through engineering. If you're an engineer, for example, now you develop programs to help children who are doing HBL, right? And now what? I mean, you also have children with autism. Now this CB, this condition is really affecting them because probably in the past they can go to school. Autistic children, they are just so prone to routine, right? In school. But now, so we've got to think of creative ways. So you can do through as an engineer, as a social worker, and so forth. So you keep your passion, but you must be nimble. You must be flexible, open-minded with the how. You cannot be too choosy lah, I'm an engineering student. I deserve this much. I deserve this pay. I deserve this salary scale. Now you've got to manage your expectation. Yeah. Now it's really not the time to negotiate in that sense. Yeah. Just allow yourself to go through this motion. Just allow yourself to and pick up any opportunity. You will learn in that process. At least you're working. Okay? You protect lives as well as livelihood. Yeah. So my advice is, and that grit I mentioned earlier gives you that quality of being nimble, flexible, open-minded. You're prepared to pick up new skills, learn new skills, live under new conditions. Okay, but yet you keep your passion and always ask that question: what is it that you're passionate for? Why you do things, and keep that.
But the how can be changed, yeah? The how
certainly have to change. The how has changed already. And in fact, how many hundreds of thousands of jobs have gone today? And now we are recreating new jobs. And we must be prepared to take on some of these new jobs, the way we do things. Yeah, that has to change. That has changed. That will continue to change.
We have one question coming in, Ustad, still on the topic of change. How do you see post-COVID, so this since mosques are opening up, some businesses are opening up, how do you see the field that you are in, the Islamic studies, or people who are working in the religious establishment, what would be the change, this new normal be like after COVID?
Okay, this is interesting. Let me try to apply some of the things that we mentioned, the big picture, the principles, and then apply on the part side. Well, we pray, inshallah, we will get to return to the mosque. Amin, inshallah, yeah, and do our Jama'ah, our Jum'ah prayer and all. But it will not be like pre-COVID. It will be new norms. We will be doing new normal, right? Example, we've got to keep safe distancing. So yes, in the past, since young, we all know how we need to stand side by side, right? And we see that as part of the Jama'ah prayer to be sahih, right? So we really need to be stand shoulder to shoulder. But now we cannot do that. So what is our principle here, right? What is a matter of principle? And will we argue that how can we do this? This is part of Salat Jama'ah. No, we got to stand. No, this is what Rasulullah has been doing, and so on and so forth. Well, guys, this is a new normal, right? The principle is we need to protect ourselves from any form of harm, you and others. That is principle. That is a matter of principle. We need to protect ourselves from any form of harm. Now, if that bringing people together closer will cause harm, then we need to understand what is more important here: the principal matter or the how, the hukum, the smaller the branches of the hukum, right? So here we need to learn how to apply principles on these small rituals that we are so used to. We'll have to change some of these habits. We'll have to get used to these new habits. So the sight may be even awkward, right? You see people 2 meters apart. What is this, right? Even the sight will be, it looks awkward to us. But we'll have to start learning to do this stuff. If we want to go back to the mosque, perform a Jama'ah prayer, we'll have to condition our mind and ourselves to this new sight even, and this new practice. Are we compromising our rituals? No, not at all. I've mentioned just a small part of the principle. So where we are clear of the principle, we should be confident of the branches, the substantive law.
Yep. And when I converse with our professionals in different fields, they also say that post-COVID, most of their fields will be fully digitalized, and this will continue as the new normal. Do you see that's happening, or that is important for Islamic students as well, for those in Islamic studies?
Surely, so already it's happening, right? You're watching Asatiza, they all go online. Myself, having to do a video recording, audio recording, we all go online. That is already happening. And this is one of the things, like I mentioned earlier, necessity is really the mother of creativity. I'm heartened to see, I'm really encouraged to see Asatiza, my younger Asatiza, and these are creative lots. And they find new ways of doing all this. No? As simple as you do now the Jama'ah, the dhikr, get collective dhikr over the Zoom, and they do it in a creative and in a soothing manner. So you see all this. This will continue. Now look at this opportunity. No, yes, this is crisis, but behind any crisis, there are opportunities. Now your audience is no longer just Singaporeans and Masjid Yusuf Isa or Masjid Qasim or whatever mosque. It's global. No? People, I know that friends from US, from Canada who subscribe to Salam SG Singapore, Salam SG TV, right? And I have given talk to communities in Melbourne and elsewhere also. No? So this opens up new opportunities. So yes, digitalization, like DPM said, the past CEOs, leaders have failed to really expedite the digitalization, but COVID-19 has moved us, has really pushed us to digitalization. What other CEOs have failed to do?
I'm imagining that after COVID, it won't be a sensitive topic to talk about Khatib using PowerPoint slides in khutbah, maybe.
Yeah, imagine. I mean, some 20 years ago, I suggested this, and it was, no, how can we do that, right? And now.
Yep. Ustad, another question.
In fact, probably, you have to imagine, probably the Khatib may not be at the minbar, but over the Zoom. Is that possible? Well, we'll have to look at it. We'll have to see this.
But definitely, I think for sure, from what you have shared, this period definitely has changed industries, including in the field of Islamic studies, in the religious establishment. And now some of the things that we thought not possible because of this, we are forced to do it, and now it is possible, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Another question. Also, when it comes to your career journey, Ustad, so people in the Islamic studies asking about your decision-making consideration when you consider to actually further your education, and why, if they have to compare furthering their education in quote-unquote Islamic universities or in, I don't like this, but secular universities. So can you share with us your so-called consideration for that?
So I'm not sure whether viewers will consider me as an ustaz basing on my educational pathways. Yes, I was in an Islamic university. It's not really an Islamic university. It's a university in the Middle East. Yes, obviously offering Islamic studies as well as other studies. So I majored not exactly in Sharia. I wasn't from the School of Sharia. I was from the School of Education. So I was trained as a teacher. Although as a teacher, I'm trained primarily to teach Arabic. Yeah. So probably some may not consider this really the typical Sharia Usuluddin and so forth, right? But because of the system, the system that allowed you to not only do your major, but you can also do minor thing. You can also do minor. So I do a lot of other things, among which is philosophy.
Yep.
So I like philosophy. As probably you have read my CV, I'm always passionate about philosophy, and because philosophy provides you with the big questions, the why of things, right? So since then, I've always interested in philosophy, even if it's not part of my formal curriculum. I do personal reading, attend classes on philosophy. I then pursue my master to doing Islamic civilization, to do philosophy and history, and then my PhD in Canada again.
Yeah,
So
I think that's the part that they want to highlight, like Al Azhar versus Canada or US when it comes to Islamic studies.
Yeah, the point is here. I mean, if I can speak to my fellow young aspiring asatidzah doing Islamic studies, we have to take a multidisciplinary approach to our learning. You will appreciate better fiqh, our fiqh, our sharia, our usuluddin, our ilmu kalam, when you understand history, philosophy, sociology, and anthropology. We cannot understand our religion only through the text and only through our Islamic sources, quote unquote. Yeah, you've got to take a multidisciplinary approach. You've got to understand why people behave the way they behave, human histories, philosophy, sociology. So that's the first point. I realized very early that we need a multidisciplinary ustaz. Now, in order to do that, I also realized that probably our Islamic universities may not offer that opportunity, at least at this juncture.
Yep.
Yeah? Al Azhar and a few others. When I was in Kuwait, I'm fortunate that no, I was able to do various others because in Kuwait we follow the American system, the credit hour system. So we are allowed to take minor. So we are exposed to other disciplines. So it is important, and recognizing that the need to be multidisciplinary. One, I do my own reading. I do a lot of my self-learning, and I chart my educational career. And yes, I have aimed for this to study in the West when I was young. I know that some people would say, you become liberal, you get diluted, stuff like that. I don't buy that argument. If I am a living experience, I think I become stronger. I know better my sources, my tradition. Inshallah, I hope that I become a better Muslim doing all this. It takes courage, obviously. Yeah. But like I mentioned earlier, when you have that grit, you are clear of your vision, the why.
Yep.
You're clear of what you're passionate with, and then you have this grit. It wasn't easy, obviously. To me, I mean, if I will need 2 days to tell my personal stories, right? So I will not do that. So, but I can say it wasn't easy. A lot of challenges. But with that clarity of vision, and you have the grit and perseverance, you will make it. Not to worry.
Yep. And my last question to you, Ustad, what does it take to be the second, to me, the second highest office holder when it comes to any religious establishment in this country? What does it take to get there? What do we need? Because I think for every professionals, for every fields, they would have like a so-called career track, maybe for the businessman, it is the CEO. So for those in the religious studies or Islamic studies, perhaps Mufti is the first and then Deputy Mufti is the second. So what does it take to get there?
Recently, we announced the Career and Competency Framework for Asatidzah, the CCF. Probably some of you must have read this. So remember that. Check it out. Check it out in our Muis website to know better. So here we have charted really the roadmap from a recent graduate. You start probably as an executive, senior executive, and then you move up to the ladder I'm more than happy for you to overtake me and take over my position, right? And then up to muftiship, right? And Minister Masuk also recently talked about this, right? The apex of this is really the Mufti, the Deputy Mufti, and so on. And in fact, we see this as not Mufti, Deputy Mufti, we see this as the Muftiship. I mean, this is a team of 3 people, Mufti and the 2 deputies, and working as a team. In fact, recently I've also like approved, I mean, because we asked what are the qualities necessary for all these different layers up to the Deputy Mufti and to the Mufti.
Yep.
So I was even writing my own expectation of myself, right? What are the knowledge, information, what are the functions, qualities, and so forth. So alhamdulillah, we have that charted out, right? So without getting into detail, I invite my fellow young aspiring Asatidz to look at this CCF, the Career and Competency, Career and Competency Framework. In our Muis website, you will see the map, yeah? And at each level, obviously, there are certain functional roles. There are certain leadership qualities that you need to acquire. Yeah. So go to that CCF. You may get some of this. But whatever it is, like I mentioned earlier, the qualities, wherever you stay, as a senior, as executive, or at the Deputy Mufti, you need to have the resilience and grit.
Yep.
Okay. Always be clear of your why. Becoming a Mufti is not the why, right? I don't set myself to become a Deputy Mufti. Honestly, although everybody is watching here, probably millions are saying it. I didn't want to be a Deputy Mufti, right? And I think the Mufti also didn't want to be a Mufti, right? So it's not that you will not see in my map. I have my personal map, and stated there a target is to be a Mufti. That's not the why, right? The why is really about developing, cultivating a gracious, confident Muslim community. Okay, and in face of all these challenges, so we want to develop such a community. And I am passionate about developing the Asatidz because they are really the pillars to developing a gracious Muslim community who is confident. Now, how then do I do this? I was at the Muis Academy. Yes, the primary job was that. In fact, I created some of these functions just so that I achieve this. And when the situation demands that you play that role as a Deputy Mufti or in whatever position, then it is because of the why we take up this what. Right? So it's not the. I mean, you ask me, do I aspire to be a Mufti? No, I don't have my agenda to be a Mufti, right? Even the Deputy Mufti, but because the situation calls, it is really a call. It's a calling, and it is synchronous. It's really part of your why. So become that why. Yeah. I'm more than happy if anyone out there want to come and probably jump and then take over my Deputy Muftiship. Alhamdulillah, I'm happy. Come forward.
And if the situation calls for it, and you have to be the Mufti also, I mean, I think the why will make you to take it, yeah, Ustaz?
Yeah, the why and the conditions, right? I mean, what's the condition during that time? I can't say that now, right? I mean, if the situation at that time really demands you to play that role, yeah, someone will have to play that role. It's not the what, it's not the how, it's really the
what. Yep. Ustaz, close us with I think some good words. I mean, you are the first Ustaz that we have on the session. Yeah. You are our 10th speaker, but I think you are the first coming from the so-called Islamic Studies line. What I realized when I talked to all these professionals before, I think what's unique in our Muslim community is that at the end of the day, we are the community who kind of understand and make sense this situation from the spiritual angle. It's about the wisdom, about hikmah and things like that. Could you enlighten us on that and some good words so that we, as much as we are practical in the situation, but we can still remain hopeful and resilient?
We live in the world, either you change or you are changed. Now, even in our ritual practices, right? This is a fact. Do we Do we also change in terms of our ritual practices and so on? I say yes. Some of these practices, the nature of these practices are also changeable. Yeah, they are not fixed. What does not change is really the principle, right? Now that principle that we really need to understand, and we need to really now focus on that. When we are principle centered, and we are clear of these principles, we'll develop this confidence to deal with these changing realities. And these realities will continue to change. So therefore, it's either we make that change, or others make that change, and we just become the subject of change instead of the agents of change. So I invite you to, and my colleagues, my young aspiring asatidzah, to consider this. It's either you be the subject of change, or you be the agents of change. The change will not change, but the prefix, whether you are subject or agent, that is your call.
Good, good. So change or you will be changed, ya. Macam election punya campaign aja, Ustaz.
Oh ya ke?
Thank you so much, Ustaz Hannan Hassan. That's it, everyone. Ustaz Hannan Hassan. Join us with our TCC Chat 2020, our next session with another professional. Thank you so much, Ustaz. See you next time.
My pleasure. Selamat Hari Raya.
Selamat Hari Raya.
All right.